Hey, I can see you.
Can you hear me now again?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Okay, cool. All right. Blech. Sorry, that took a little bit. I was just trying to figure out how to get that to work.
Actually, I'm impressed at all of what you can do.
Oh, it wasn't without help, trust me. How's it
Yeah,
going there?
good. Hey, I thanks for being willing to do this. I just thought it might be useful and interesting to people to just hear from you, like how you're doing now. And um, here's why. The after people, when I'm with people who are saying, "Hey, tell me what's going on with your nephew these days," I fill him in and whatever. Able to go to his sister's wedding. You know, family was just in town for Christmas. I fill people in on all of that. Eventually, a conversation almost always, Adam, gets to like, once they hear how, uh, how do you get through your day physically? People are always wondering, like, well, how's he doing? How's his mood? How's his attitude? And um, I give a pretty standard response. It's like, it's amazing. Always had a positive attitude. Um, you know, he's a psych major. He knows about positive psychology, so he's got a little additional um, boost there in terms of knowing some science, in terms of how good mood is. So he knows to do that at a science level too. So that's kind of that's what I do. That's my standard. But I thought if you were up for it, I would just like to ask you more about um, like just often when I text you something, I say I can't imagine. I just think about all the things at a physical level, so easy to do, and lots of times that's what I think about. And let me make a confession here. This is a very arrogant thing that I used to say. I don't say it so much anymore.
Okay.
Just turning some heat on here. I used to say that that all I needed for my work was my head, that I could be rolled in on a
Right.
stretcher and I could still do my job.
Right.
And because I just didn't know anything about quadriplegia, I just presumed, uh, you just didn't have a body. It's,
Right.
it was just like kind of that simple. I wasn't thinking that there's pain. I wasn't thinking that there's, um, trouble breathing. I
Right.
wasn't thinking about any of that stuff. I was just thinking, well, you can't feel, you can't move, but hey, you can think, conceptualize, have dialogue. So I was very arrogant. I used to say, that's all right. If I have an accident, as long as I've got my head, I'm good to go. So, and I was also really arrogant around the idea that it wouldn't have that much of an impact on me, maybe psychologically.
Right.
Um, But as I've been with you and I think about and I watch you and I think, if he wants to do this, he can't. If he wants
Right.
to do
Simple,
that.
simple little stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And the, dependent on somebody to tend to and to be tuned in, Jane amazes me. You could just sort of see that she's eagle eye there, you know, you do a little something and she's over there helping with it. And I just, you know, um, just respect her and love her so much for that.
Me too.
But I just, so anyway, I just thought, well, if you're up for it, I'd like to just hear what it's like to be you these days.
Sure. Absolutely. Um, I guess it's a tough thing to like find where to start, I suppose, since you don't answer that question too often, right?
Yeah. Take your
Let me,
time.
I guess it's definitely like there's a chronological progression there. Obviously, like when I was first hurt, like I was still, still quasi shell shocked about, how things were going to be. And like how things may never change, or, just basically worried, just, a lot of anxiety about everything. And that's mostly because, I wasn't in, I hadn't even, like, this is still in Madison, when I hadn't even been informed about, adaptable lifestyle and all of the stuff that you can basically add into your life that makes it easier to have like quadriplegia.
Yeah.
But so that kind of is how it started out, like really worried, mostly, a lot of things, piled on. That was a lot, dealing with finances and the family being, really stressed out about it, and trying to be, putting on a good face just so that no one else really was worrying as much as, they should, especially, even though I might be, on the inside really freaked out, but still trying to kind of just do my best to help everybody else out by having a positive attitude was, that was kind of obviously not easy. But I guess I kind of got used to it at first. And then as I got into therapy at RIC downtown, and, dealing with not just therapy, but also like, tech involvement, just getting out and kind of doing more things, I suppose, is basically what they make you do. That really made me feel a little bit more reassured. Okay, at least I can survive, or like, try to grind away at, making a life out of this. And I think, at some point in there, like in those first, like 4 or 5 months, maybe not even, that I started, tried to be really hopeful about like the science behind all this stuff and where it's going with stem cell research, robotics, all that stuff, that I'm, basically tried to put it in frame, because it was really hard. It still is really hard to think, okay, am I going to be living with this the rest of my life? Which is tough to really say yes or no to. There's really no good answer there, basically. And, because we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen with, any breakthroughs or not, basically. So that's been something that I definitely, it's a good mood elevator nowadays. Is I try to use that, like you said, like try to positively use that to motivate me for like just being hopeful. Just thinking, okay, well, what could happen in 5 years that science maybe flips the lid on something, and all of a sudden I'm able to get a simple surgery, or it's anything, even a complicated treatment, and be able to maybe use my arms again, or walk again, or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I use that a lot, for like keeping a good attitude, because just like anybody knows, I mean, you tell yourself what no one knows what the future holds, but especially for me, it's just that really is exciting, because I try to think of it as exciting, because I just really I'm hopeful for something that can change my life drastically, mm-hmm. In whatever field that may come around. I do a lot of, basically every day I'm checking for stuff on stem cell research, because I'm really interested in that. That seems to be kind of the most hopeful stuff. But, I'm still very hopeful for anything else that could come down the road, like robotics, like I mentioned. They have these things called bioscaffolding, which is a little bit different. It's kind of like an implant. So implants, robotics, chemical stem cell stuff. So that stuff really keeps me excited and hopeful that things are going to go, hopefully change for the best. Maybe not soon, but eventually. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I also have gotten, recently, because I had it's kind of a good thing, really, in retrospect. But I really had some issues with being really in a lot of pain and having a lot of headaches, because of basically I wasn't doing a good enough job of, after I got out of the hospital, taking care of my body the way I was supposed to. I was just getting kind of lazy with a couple of things, and even though there's small, simple little fixes, I had drastic changes in how I felt. So I really started to put in perspective, like, wow, like at least I'm not bedridden and in pain all the time, like some people are. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, it's a weird kind of, it's similar to what you were saying, like with your job, like, oh, I could do this, just with my, even though you feel arrogant saying so, I could be wheeled in a wheelchair and still do my job if I just had my head motion and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if I could talk and be cognitive at the same rate that I am now. Mm-hmm. I think that I kind of have that perspective that, at least, all right, well, I try to use that as kind of a similar positive affect that, okay, you know, at least you're not stuck in a bed. You're able to you can literally move around the space around you. I can explore, you know, my neighborhood. I can wheel around my building and be relatively, you know, I'm not, obviously independence it's a weird term when you start dealing with people that are especially wheelchair bound or in any way paralyzed. But yeah, like I have some level of independence compared to, you know, when I was in the hospital. I now realize that people that weren't, and that didn't have that opportunity, it is a drastic difference in lifestyle. And it definitely helps, you know, helps you keep that perspective of the bigger world kind of thing, you know, because if you can get out in the world and, you know, be involved in some way, it makes you keep that perspective of, okay, well, I'm still here doing this, you know, I can grind away and just be a part of what's going, kind of just, I guess, yeah, this mostly, I guess the way to say it is stay part of my family is the big one. That's kind of the, you know, the outside world stuff that I really, you know, care about the most.
Yeah.
And because I can definitely see that breaking someone down who has to sit still all day and maybe only look at the four walls around them and a computer screen or something, which would just be too much. You know, that would, you know, it would wear me down. I think that I might have been able to say, oh, I could have survived that way before I got hurt, but after getting hurt, I now know, like, I don't know if I could make it every day being completely still and not being able to have any interaction with my environment. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That one's, yeah. So stuff like that, it's basically, a lot of it is